Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karen destroys Grandpa's fence, instantly regrets it. When I was growing up, we lived right next to my grandparents just across the driveway. The kind of setup that meant you were always just a holler away from fresh-baked cookies or someone yelling at you to mow the lawn. It was peaceful, quiet, and the kind of neighborhood where everyone knew each other until the people across the street moved in. Let me tell you about her. We'll call her Karen because, frankly, no other name fits. She was always a bit off, the kind of woman who would glare at you for existing but wave sweetly to your face. She lived next door to my grandparents, and while things were tense from the start, everything really hit the fan one summer when Karen got it in her head that her yard needed a total transformation. Sounds innocent, right? One afternoon, she came out in flip-flops and a cocktail, announced to no one in particular that the trees must go, and unleashed her 2 grown sons to do the job. No permits, no professionals, just 2 dudes, a rusty chainsaw, and what I swear was the world's loudest backhoe. They worked through the day, fine, but when 10 p.m. rolled around, the legal cutoff for construction noise in our town, they were still out there, clanging and revving and hollering. My dad, trying to be diplomatic, walked over and asked, "Hey, fellas, mind shutting it down for the night? It's past the quiet hour." They laughed at him. That's when Karen stormed out in her leopard print robe like a sitcom villain. "This is our land, and we'll do what we want with it. Maybe you should worry about your ugly trees, My dad, bless him, stayed calm. "You're violating city ordinances. I'm asking nicely. Cut the noise." One of her sons, muscles all puffed up like a cartoon, stepped forward and muttered something like, "You want to make me?" Dad backed off and called the police. The officers showed up, gave them a warning, and told them to shut it down for the night. But that didn't stop them. For the next 5 nights, it was the same story. Power tools, shouting, floodlights, and us dialing the non-emergency line like clockwork. The cops eventually started sending the same officer who was clearly as sick of it as we were. One morning, we discovered the fence between Karen's property and my grandparents' yard had been demolished. Just a little damage. Gone. Posts ripped out, panels shattered. My grandpa, who built that fence himself decades ago and treated it like a family heirloom, was livid. He marched right over and demanded answers. Karen said that fence was ours, and it was falling apart. We did you a favor. Grandpa wasn't having it. The man disappeared into his garage and came back hours later with a binder stuffed with papers, blueprints, receipts, and bam, the original invoice for the fence dated 1973 with his name on it. He knocked on Karen's door and handed her the paper. "You either pay to replace it," he said, "or I take you to court and let a judge explain property lines to you." Her sons tried to argue, but by then the police had already documented the noise complaints and damage from the past week. Karen eventually folded. A crew showed up a few days later with shiny new fence panels and spent a full weekend replacing what they'd destroyed. Funny thing, they never tried late-night tree work again after that. In fact, they mostly kept to themselves after the whole fence debacle, though Karen did shoot us the occasional death glare from her porch. My grandparents to this day call that summer the Chainsaw Chronicles. We just call it the year we learned that having the receipts literally is the best way to win a neighborhood war. This story perfectly illustrates why you never underestimate someone who's been meticulously keeping records since before disco was cool. I mean, seriously, who casually destroys their neighbor's fence and thinks they'll just get away with it? Karen and her late-night chainsaw crew clearly weren't expecting your grandpa's legendary filing system. And our second story. I told them the truck was dangerous. They didn't listen. Back when I worked as a truck driver, the company I was with had a handful of trucks, some old, some falling apart, none properly maintained. Depending on the job, you'd drive up to 3 different trucks in a day. Over the years, I racked up a few citations, expired inspections, bald tires, broken lights. They weren't my fault, but the tickets were in my name. The company always paid them, so I let it slide. Then came the day our big truck, a massive 33,000-pound beast with a gas engine, hit rock bottom. It was barely running and hemorrhaging oil. It needed thousands in repairs, and I told management flat out, I will not drive this truck until it's fixed. They shrugged it off for a week, then asked me to take it out for just one job. Against my better judgment, I said yes. I wanted to be a team player and keep the customer happy. Big mistake. They loaded a case of motor oil in the cab before I left, just in case. The truck spewed smoke like it was auditioning for a disaster movie. Cars behind me were turning on their high beams to see through the fog. By the time I returned from a 50-mile trip, I had lost 24 quarts of oil and nearly a full tank of gas. Drivers were honking, flipping me off. One guy mouthed, "I think you're leaking oil." I was mortified. So again, I told management, I'm not driving that truck again until it's fixed. They ignored me. As a licensed commercial driver, I'm legally required to fill out a daily pre-trip inspection log listing defects, issues, and safety concerns. One copy stays in the truck, one goes to the company, and one can be handed to the Department of Transportation, DOT, if requested. I filled mine out meticulously, listing every defect. I even kept a personal log with extra notes just in case. The next day, the truck was loaded again, waiting for me. Management told me to get in and drive. I said no. They said you have to. I said fine. Here's where the fun starts. The route to the job normally meant turning left at the light, but I was out of gas, so I turned right toward the nearest fuel station. Funny thing, the DOT had a mobile inspection unit set up just past the gas station. I saw them watching as I passed. They didn't stop me, but you could tell they were interested. As I fueled up, I could practically feel their eyes on me. Once I pulled out of the station to head back, they ran out into the street to flag me down. They wanted this truck. I pulled over into their lot, shut off the engine, and waited. One officer walked up with a creeper board ready to slide under the truck. I stopped him. "You're not going to need that," I said. "I've got a list." I handed over my logbook and my personal notes, pages of documented mechanical issues, oil leaks, brake problems, lights out, you name it. The officer raised an eyebrow and walked back to his vehicle. For the next 30 minutes, he reviewed everything. When he returned, he looked concerned. "Why are you driving this thing?" "He told me I had to." "No backup truck?" "Nope." "What happens if you say no?" "I guess I stay home." He disappeared again. 20 minutes later, he returned with a red out-of-service sticker and slapped it right on the windshield. Truck wasn't going anywhere, he said. There were 21 separate violations that made it unfit for the road. Then he hit the company with a hefty fine for putting it on the road in the first place. He added, "You've also got an expired fuel tax sticker. If I fine you, that's a $10,000 ticket in your name." But I called the local PD. It's $90 that your company can cover. I thanked him, got a ride back to the warehouse, and left that junk heap behind. In total, the company racked up over $65,000 in fines and towing costs. Within a week, they leased an entire fleet of new trucks, each on a maintenance plan that guaranteed replacements when a vehicle went down. They even hired a crew to wash the trucks twice a month. I stayed for another 2 years before leaving for a better-paying gig with a competitor who didn't treat safety like a joke. I learned a lot from that day, and so did my old bosses. Here's the lesson. I won't risk my life or anyone else's just because you didn't maintain your fleet. That $65 lesson was on them. When I say I'm not driving it, I mean it. Safety comes first. No exceptions. I love when a company cheaps out and ends up having to pay more in the end. Do it right the first time. And our last story. HOA president started a pressure washing business, then fined the whole neighborhood for not using it. We live in a quietish suburb, the kind of neighborhood where everyone mows their lawn at 9 a.m. sharp on Saturdays and people wave at you even though they've secretly filed a complaint about your garden gnome. Our homeowners association, they've always been a little extra. We're talking random lawn inspections, citations for unapproved garden decor, and emails that drip with so much passive aggression they might as well be written in glitter gel pen. But this time they outdid themselves. This time they messed with our roofs. It began quietly, like most dumb HOA stories do. Every house, every single one, got the same letter in their mailbox, a tidy little envelope containing a $75 fine. The reason? Dirty roofs. That's right, not weeds, not peeling paint, not an inflatable Santa still hanging on in July, just roofs. Average, slightly weathered rooftops that looked no different than they did last year or the year before. No bird nests, no moss farms, no ominous black streaks, just shingles doing their job. We were all confused, like, was there a satellite with a grudge flying over our neighborhood, a rogue squirrel with a drone? No explanation was given, just the fine and an aggressive reminder that repeat offenses would result in steeper penalties. Something smelled off. Then someone remembered something important. A couple of months earlier, Rick, our ever-so-zealous HOA president, had launched a family business, a pressure washing company no less, real homegrown. He was suddenly on every neighborhood Facebook page, smiling in his crisp polo, proudly gripping a pressure washer like it was a trophy fish. Family-owned, community-trusted, the ad read. We rolled our eyes, but didn't think much of it, until now. Because right after the fines hit, Rick's company sent out another round of emails. What luck! They were now officially HOA approved to clean those very same dirty roofs for a limited-time discount. Imagine that. Except here's the kicker. Power washing asphalt roofs, that's a terrible idea. It blasts off the protective granules and seriously damages the shingles. It's like cleaning your face with a belt sander. Most roofers warn against it, unless, of course, you own one of the only two companies authorized by the HOA to replace those now damaged roofs. And guess who owns one of those two companies? Rick Jr. Yep, Dad rakes in the money wrecking roofs, son swoops in and makes bank fixing them. It was a 1-2 punch of suburban scheming. It would have made a great plot for a late-night crime doc called Shingles and Shenanigans. Now, we're not exactly the revolution-type crowd. We're more of a passive-aggressive bake sale protest kind of bunch. But this time something changed. A line was crossed. We organized. Flyers went out. Group chats exploded. Someone even made a meme of Rick's face photoshopped onto a pressure washer. The emergency HOA meeting that followed, legendary. You'd think it was a town hall about outlawing coffee. Every seat filled, folding chairs brought out, lawn chairs dragged in from car trunks. People who hadn't attended a meeting in years were suddenly political activists. And there, standing at the front like a discount motivational speaker, was Rick. His work shirt pressed, name stitched on the chest, smiling like nothing was wrong. He started talking about curb appeal and maintaining community value, said he was proud of the HOA's proactive steps. He was trying to sell it like we were lucky to have him. And that's when it happened. A woman in the second row stood up, quiet but fierce, and said loud and clear, "Rick, if our roofs are so dirty, why does the Google Earth view look cleaner than your business ethics?" Silence. The kind of silence that sucks the air out of a room. Then from the back, "Scammer!" That was it. The dam burst. People started murmuring, shaking their heads. Someone pulled out a stack of vote cards. We voted right there. Overwhelming majority. Rick was impeached just like that. Evicted from his throne of HOA nonsense. Rick Jr.'s roofing company, stripped of its HOA preferred status. The fines all canceled, rescinded, null and void. And now, thanks to the storm he kicked up, we have a brand new rule on the books. Power washing of roofs is officially banned in our community. Funny how that works. See, people in the suburbs may not raise pitchforks at the first sign of injustice, but mess with their roofs, try to pull a fast one that hits them in the wallet and the home insurance. That's when you find out just how quickly a neighborhood potluck can turn into a political uprising. At the end of the day, it's proof that even the most buttoned-up cul-de-sac can unite when someone tries to monetize their neighborhood's upkeep. Rick thought that he had a golden racket, only to learn too late that a community armed with memes, coffee, and a healthy dose of common sense is a force to be reckoned with. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.